My Ioniq is finally back on the road. And with that, welcome to a new video with the electric trucker. This week I'm testing the new MAN ETGX. I will drive it in Convoy to Sweden, where the charging infrastructure is years ahead of the rest of Europe. This is my truck for the next 3 weeks. To get the trailer hooked up, the Iveco had to give a quick jump start because the ETGX does not have a NATO socket. My Iveco is parked hidden in the back and is now taking a little vacation. And here's how the truck looks from the inside. It's all very high quality even though it's a pre-production model. Not much new in terms of interior layout, but it has a fully digital cockpit and a central display with a few physical buttons. The cab is super spacious because there is no second bed or storage compartments, which makes it feel really open, and I really like it. There's a fridge and a storage bin, digital side mirrors, electric sunshades, a pop-up roof for fresh air, and a rotary push control system, kind of like BMW's iDrive. I'm still getting my bearings with the onboard navigation, so I'm using my phone for now. Now I'm merging onto the Autobahn towards Stuttgart. This truck's supposed to be super efficient, and that's what I'm most excited to test. The truck comes with all the latest assistance systems, adaptive cruise control where you can adjust the following distance, and a lane-keeping assistant that actively steers when you let go of the wheel. It even shows how fast the vehicle in front is going and the exact distance in meters. Super helpful for maintaining safety distance. And here's a clever detail. You can adjust the length of your semi-trailer for the digital mirrors, and it shows up as a line on the display. Really helpful when merging. The truck has 480 kilowatt hours of usable capacity, so about 70 kilowatt hours less than my Iveco. But since it has a lower consumption, mainly thanks to the less powerful engine, the range should be about the same. And I found another cool feature. This truck has a regular horn, but there's also this button that activates proper loud air-powered horns. When you honk with those, everyone around hears you. I really love how this truck looks. It's charging right now at 223 kilowatts. This model should be able to charge at up to 370 kilowatts. We'll see if we can hit that in the next few days. But in this pre-production version, it won't charge to 100%, it stops at 95. The ETGX comes in various configurations. You get CCS on the left by default, or pay extra to have another CCS on the right. There's even an option to have only CCS on the right. Or you can get MCS on the left and CCS on the right. This time we're once again transporting equipment and building materials for a Milence charging park. But this time we're doing it with 3 electric trucks. The MAN ETGX, the Iveco SE-Way, and the Scania 40R. Tomorrow at 8 we're heading off to Sweden. I'm heading to bed now, and it's amazing how spacious it feels in here. And one super useful feature back here is the remote control you can use while you're in bed. It shows the battery level, climate control settings, and even the current voltage. You can also use it to activate the digital side mirrors and monitor the truck and the cargo. We had a bunch of delays, so we decided to take our 9-hour rest break together. This way we can all start fully charged at the same time. In theory, we've got a combined charging capacity of 1.05 megawatts. The ETGX is charging at 136 kilowatts, the Iveco at 164, and the Scania is hitting 336. The Scania plugged in first, but all 3 trucks should be charging at high power. This isn't exactly encouraging, but I find this test super interesting, because this situation will become common over the next few years. If logistics companies get excited about e-trucks, but the grid connections can't keep up, you'll end up with busy charging parks and lower charging speeds. For us, it's not a big problem at the moment because we're not leaving until tomorrow morning. Our Convoy is on the move. I've never done long-distance heavy haul in a Convoy before, so this is really exciting. We're heading toward Würzburg now to get an idea of our energy consumption. Once we know that, we can adjust our charging strategy. And like I mentioned before, the digital mirrors have these lines that help you see your distance. That's incredibly helpful right now with this wide load since I can't even see the end of the trailer. Those mirror lines really make a difference. Here's a sneak peek of what charging parks will look like at night in 2026. No cars, but a bunch of e-trucks. During the day this wouldn't work, but at night it's perfect. The Scania is pulling 329 kilowatts, but the Iveco is struggling again. We already tried 2 chargers, but it's not hitting full power. Ionity told me that the charger yesterday went into a safety mode during the Iveco's charge, which slowed it down. But there seems to be another issue now. Luckily, the Iveco has the biggest battery, so it's not slowing us down yet. And the ETGX is charging with 355 kilowatts at a 350 kilowatt station. Insane. Yesterday it was charging slower because the menu setting for charging was set to normal instead of fast. Consumption, charging power, and battery capacity. If 2 of them are good, they can easily make up for a weaker third, and that's how you should choose a truck. Just because a truck has a big battery or can charge at a megawatt doesn't automatically mean it's the best. The only thing that always matters is lower consumption, because that gets directly reflected in operating costs. Back when I was a student, I worked as a chauffeur on the side. I used to drive people from Munich airport through Bavaria and Austria in big limousines. When you had multiple cars in a convoy, there were actual rules. For example, when changing lanes, the lead car would start by signaling left, and that signal would get passed down until I, at the very back, also signaled left. Then I was the first at the back to pull out, followed by the other cars, so the convoy stayed together. Basically, the last car blocks the lane. I think it's not legal to do without a permit, but it's super cool to be able to communicate it without words. On the other lane, a truck has burned out. I guess it didn't handle the hill very well. Hopefully no one was hurt. One downside of lower power is also less regenerative braking power. But so far it's doing pretty well, and not having one pedal driving isn't a big deal either. We're taking this steep hill at 83 kilometers per hour cruise control. The engine is using 400 kilowatts, which is about 544 horsepower, or the average diesel engine. And we're already down to 60 kilometers per hour. This time, I'm the one on the right lane. My colleagues are pulling ahead, but I will catch up with them again. The Scania officially also has 400 kilowatts continuous power, but its peak power is a bit higher. I think this truck could also do a lot more, so it's possible they'll add a boost function with a software update later on. But this pre-production model is rather slow for an electric truck. We're taking our second charging stop of the day, and here comes a little trigger warning. If things look a bit chaotic, that's because they are. We're parked at the passenger car chargers, but there's still some space left for cars. The Iveco is charging at 150 kilowatts, and I found out why. One of 3 battery strings has a lower temperature than the others. I'm going to call Iveco to see if they can fix it remotely. The eTGX is charging at the 300 kilowatt station with 260 kilowatts, while the Scania is pulling the full 300. When driving onto the highway, I just realized how I've been spoiled by the Iveco. This is how normal trucks drive. Accelerating uphill just isn't that quick. I contacted Iveco support, and it turns out the truck has a faulty water pump. It can still drive and deliver full power, but it charges slower and regenerates less. We will take it to the workshop after the Sweden trip. I think it's super important to share everything I experience and the problems I encounter, so we all get smarter. It's pretty fascinating that the Iveco has so much coolant and multiple water pumps. But when there's a lot of tech, there are a lot more things that can break. We nailed our driving and rest times, which makes this a very successful day. I'm charging up at the full 300 kilowatts, while the others share the other charger, since the Iveco only charges at 150 kilowatts anyway. We'll hit the road again tomorrow around 2:30. Today's strategy is the same as yesterday. We're making a short stop pretty early to check consumption and warm up the battery. And the toll for electric trucks in Denmark is way cheaper than for diesel. I think for diesel trucks it's 17 cents per kilometer, but for e-trucks only 3 cents, a huge difference. We're just across the border, and compared to E.ON Germany, E.ON Denmark is a way better experience. And from a layout perspective, this setup is as good as it gets. Of course, it's expensive to install one charging station per bay, but realistically you need one per bay anyway. Milence has this concept where one station serves 2 bays, for left and right side charging, but I don't think that's going to work in the long run. Most trucks charge on the left side, so sooner or later, someone will end up pulling in from the wrong side because they need to charge, and that just leads to chaos. Here, you can be sure the trucks can park properly, and ideally, each one gets a full charging station to itself. We hit a peak of 379 kilowatts with the eTGX. At 79%, the charging power starts to drop off a bit. But still, that's seriously fast. I'm already done charging, and I'm now waiting for the other 2. One awesome feature the MAN has is maintenance charging. That means as long as it's plugged into the charger, it keeps drawing power from the station for climate control instead of draining the battery. That's super important if you're parked overnight. All electric trucks should have that feature, but very few actually do. I already knew that the Nordics are a dream for electric truck drivers. At this rest stop, there's great food and the showers work with credit cards, so convenient. And the highlight is this Eon charging park. The 400 kilowatt Alpatronic chargers all work perfectly. The bays aren't ideal for extra wide vehicles, but you can back out easily. If rest stops looked like this all across Germany and Europe, where you just drive into the bay, plug in and take your break or stay overnight, truckers would be lining up to drive electric. And this isn't rocket science. All of this already exists. The 3 trucks we drive are available to order and will still get delivered this year. The chargers exist. Even the paving machines to pave a charging park already exist as electric versions. And seeing the future already existing here is exciting and encouraging. With a full battery, the range display shows 380 kilometers, and I'd say that's pretty accurate. Thanks to the high charging speed, it's just as good for long trips as the Iveco. The Iveco is less affected by charging station issues with its big battery, but both work well in an ideal world. We're now in Warburg, and there are several charging parks here. Eon, Ionity, Einride, and Mailenz. We drove 750 kilometers today in our electric Convoy. We lost a bit of time because of the Iveco, but otherwise it was super easy. If you've learned to drive an electric truck in Germany, driving in Denmark and Sweden feels like a vacation.
Yes, hello?
Hello, can I charge my truck here?
Yes, just a second, please.
Thank you. We're at this Mailenz charging park, but there are only 4 chargers. If a 5th truck shows up, it would block everything or have to drop the trailer. But I'm pretty sure they've got a tally sheet in the office. Every time all chargers are in use, they make a mark, and after 10 marks, they add more chargers. Still, it's a great charging spot. Free coffee, showers, and restrooms. Over there is Einride's hybrid charging park for trucks and cars. They're using a ChemPower charging system. The chargers are much slimmer since they just house the plug and screen, while all the tech is in central cabinets. With Alpatronics, everything is built into the charger itself, which makes them bulkier. There's also a Tesla supercharger, Circle K chargers, more Alpatronics, a Neo Power swap station, and some Neo fast chargers. They've got everything here. If for some people it's still not obvious that the future of trucks is electric and that these charging hubs will pop up everywhere, then I don't know what else to say. An older Volvo FM Electric just pulled in with an electric refrigerated trailer like the one I showed in another video recently. Cool to see it out in the wild. I'm enjoying every second of this tour. Sweden is just beautiful. Great weather, lots of wind turbines, nice charging parks, and almost no traffic. I'd love to drive up here more often. I have to say, I love these digital side mirrors. They work perfectly at night and during the day when the sun's low and behind you. It's super annoying with regular mirrors, especially if they're a bit dirty, but with these, no problem at all. And when the space was tight, as it was several times, they really proved themselves. This is going to take a bit, so I've got some time to check the construction site. You can see the arches for the charging park, and 2 chargers are already up and running. That truck over there looks like a regular one, but it's actually a 6-axle Volvo FM electric. It's a beast with a huge hydraulic tank built for construction work. You'd never see that in Germany. It's way too long and would need a special permit. I thought it was here for the construction, but nope, just charging. It's awesome that the first chargers are already running. This could be what the construction site of the future looks like. Step 1. Set up a mobile container with a battery storage unit and a charging station, and then trucks and construction vehicles can charge right on site. We're near an airport here, so noise isn't a big deal. But in city centers, a quiet, zero-emission construction site is the future. They're hard at work here and you can barely hear anything, because they're using an electric excavator with a 23.4 kilowatt-hour battery. It's been running for an hour and used up about 20%. So the 8 hours runtime isn't totally accurate, but if you plug it in during breaks, it works out just fine. We're back on the road, but super late. It took 7 hours from arrival to departure. We're heading toward Gothenburg now, aiming to get home by the weekend. Without a load, energy use is way better, and the truck shows much more range. It immediately noticed there's less weight on the axles, and it even shows me the trailer's axle loads. We're now in Helsingborg, and Circle K has truck chargers here, but we can't park there for 11 hours, so we've parked on the street for the night. Right across from us is a Scania and Volvo dealer, and they've also set up chargers. Good morning to the last day of the week. We're charging up at the Scania dealer, and then we're heading straight onto the ferry to Denmark. The trip takes just under 20 minutes, and they just announced that this ship runs fully electric. It has a battery capacity of 4.1 megawatt hours and uses about 1.2 megawatt hours per crossing, so it can go back and forth a few times. Right from the start, you notice there's no strong vibration and no diesel engine noise. It's a smooth and elegant ride. Really impressive. We had to wait a bit, but this is the first ferry for the day. Some truck drivers have been waiting here since yesterday. We really got lucky. The crossing takes 45 minutes and then we're back in Germany. This is the last public charging stop of this trip. The other 2 trucks parked at the car chargers because the other ones here were broken. The eTGX is charging at 300 kilowatts. It has been super reliable. We've used up all our regular shift extensions, but luckily there's a special rule. If you can't quite make it home to start your weekly rest, you're allowed to extend your driving time by 2 hours. Classic example, the trucker dad who doesn't make it home Friday night. You can't expect him to sleep at a rest stop and not see his family. So we're using that rule, and it just works out. What I really like about this truck is the energy consumption and how precisely it displays it. My eVico just shows 0.9 kilowatt hours per kilometer. But the eTGX gives you 90.91 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So basically 0.9091 per kilometer. That's 3 more decimal places. But the real kicker is the total consumption. I drove a similar route with similar load in winter with the eVico. It used 1.4 kilowatt hours per kilometer back then. Conditions were bad though. Under similar conditions like this week, I'd say it could have been 1.25. The eTGX did 1.05 kilowatt hours per kilometer, with oversized width, oversized length, and a heavy low-loader trailer. I think the truck alone is 11 tons, the trailer 13 tons, and the load was 10, so 34 tons total. Such good consumption is mainly thanks to the smaller motor, but also a bit of aerodynamics. It's a mix of things, but overall, great efficiency. That was the first week with the MAN ETGX. It performed well, though it's also the weakest electric truck I've driven so far, but over 500 horsepower is plenty. Honestly, I really enjoyed it. Huge thanks to MAN for letting me test this pre-production vehicle. Just a quick disclaimer, I'm not paid by MAN, and I have full freedom to say what I want, good or bad. That's super important to me, because on this channel, I never want to do advertising for truck makers or charging companies. I want to stay independent so I can give you real, useful insights as things develop. Thanks for watching and greetings from East Frisia.